Okay, remember that they changed my voice? I am not gay. A lot of gay people are trying to gay wash my videos with white and Jewish supremacists, and these are the type of people that run every church. Okay, so you see the scripture on the screen, right? The people in the Protestant versus Catholic video, like every other Christian I've come across in my life, seek to unfairly elevate themselves. The throne is established in righteousness. It's established in justice. And just like with David versus Goliath, again, just like with David versus Goliath, how do you understand what righteousness is? Well, righteousness isn't being gay or a white supremacist or an LGBT supremacist or a token minority, etc. So what is it? Well, as I look at the types of people in the world, when I use discernment, I use wisdom, I use insight, I analyze, I see that only certain types of martial artists in history really understood the spirit in people. And let me tell you why that is, okay? In martial arts, everybody thinks they have the spirit or a spirit at some point, so to speak, right? So to speak. Sparring shows us the way, the truth, and the life. The top, right? The word top, right, is a play on words for the word spot. Okay, the word top is scrambled in spot for a reason. Martial is marital scrambled, right? I went over that in the other video. The power, pow, ear, spirit, and so on and so forth. So let me explain to you why I'm right. When David took on Goliath, okay, there was no technology, there was no ill-gotten breeding, ill-gotten gains, there was no cheating. Okay. And David and Goliath were approaching each other. And both of them swore up and down that they're going to win. Just like a white belt or some, or even a black belt or whoever who thinks that they have some kind of vision about how they're going to win. They feel confident, right? What have you. Now, sometimes people feel nervous when they spar, and sometimes they still win. Okay. But when you look at the spectrum of events that occurs in sparring long enough, right? You observe it on the internet, you've lived it in person, and you've observed it for a long time, you start making distinctions here. I have a certain vision that other people don't have. In fact, there's a martial arts school in San Jose. I think they have about 3 schools in San Jose called Vision Martial Arts. And when people talk about martial arts, they talk about honesty and character. They talk about improving cognition, right? Unless, of course, you're doing what's right to a T, then people are sabotaging and messing up your cognition. Pretty straightforward. They talk about discipline and other characteristics as well. A huge part of why I'm right and everyone else is wrong is that the I am. Okay? For example, if I was alone in a forest and I was like, I'm the only life form here that knows how to tie my shoes. Okay? And there was just, other animals there. There wasn't any people. Why would I be right? I would be right because I am a human being that knows how to tie my shoes. I am the top martial artist ever possible using a logical scale, using the only scale one can really use to figure out such a thing. And I've proven it with my top martial arts challenge. It's been going on for 12 years. Through sabotage and fuming and poisoning, that's how great the gap is. There's martial artists out there that think they're, very good even now. That I would beat in no time flat, fair and square. It's like someone stretching and they're warming up and they think that they know what they're doing. They think that their spirit is right and that their vision is right. They think their skill set is right. They think their wisdom is going to prevail and their spirit is going to. And then I beat them in no time flat. It's like my life story. It's like that with mentally sparring people too. In this video already, it's only been 4 minutes, 30 seconds or so. I've beaten the opposition very quickly. They don't talk about how martial is marital scramble. They avoid that argument. That is called being dishonest when you avoid the elephant in the room. The root and offspring of David. What was David famous for? Knitting? Baking cakes? Spelling bees? His knowledge of scripture, perhaps. What was he famous for? He was famous for facing Goliath. That's what he was famous for. When Moses said, the Lord is a warrior, the Lord is his name. What was he praising God for? He said, God is almighty. He's this great, wonderful God. He's a holy warrior God. So when you look at this thing, you see that people are unfairly exalting themselves. Be it the Protestant arguing, and they don't all see eye to eye, but a lot of them argue that they think that God is inside of them and that they have just as much discernment as everyone else. Or that their church is valid. Who validates and invalidates churches? I do. And they're all invalid. I'm the top martial artist. I am the root and offspring of David. I sit on David's throne. David, the morning sun, the champion, the sun in Psalm 19. The S-U-N and the S-O-N. And the S-U-N also spelled backwards is news. It has a news sound. It's like N-U-S is like N-E-W-S. I sit on the throne as Christ, as the top martial artist ever possible. Why do you know that I'm Christ? Because I'm the top martial artist ever possible. If every other martial artist that ever lived tried to face me in single combat, they would lose. My vision is greater. My wisdom is greater. My natural, keyword natural, technique is greater. Supernatural through natural. The root and offspring of David. And he wasn't the only one. You had Samson and Joshua and on and on. But greater than leading an army is single combat. The sword of Scripture. Not a mere president ordering some secular army to go to war or even a holy person, but the sword of Scripture with the spirit of the righteous in the spirit of God. First and foremost, God above everything else. Triumphing me over everyone else. You know them by their fruits. What fruit is like mine? What victory is like mine? What truth is like mine? As the one female pointed out, she said that some female, in her opinion, killed the game by speaking truth to power. And she said it again. She said she killed the game by speaking truth to power. I've killed the game by conquering worldly power with the truth. So as you look at the arguments and you analyze, say, what is the truth of the situation? What is the I am of the situation? I am the top martial artist ever possible, and that makes me the son of God. Martial is marital scrambled for a reason. And I'm the bridegroom. And the word hell is like the word El for a reason. And you see in Isaiah where he talks about when those people are healed, that they will no longer be ill. They will no longer be spiritually ill. You are ill when you follow the church. You are ill when you follow other people because they don't have the fruits of doing the work of God. They just talk. Their actual action is submission to evil. They're submitting to the world, and the world allows them to establish a church. And then there's all kinds of sexual immorality and financial, a sin taking place and so on and so forth. That's why I think she said there's 40,000 denominations in the world. There's like 20,000 of them are here in America. So why can't these guys get their story straight? Because just like every white belt who starts learning a few moves, every second belt person, what have you, after that, they think that they know what they're doing. They learn a little scripture, they get a little taste of the idea, and they think that they know what they're doing, but they don't. Spar its spirit. There is a divine order. If one of David's men said that he's equal to him and that he should be in charge, he would lose the spirit, right? And that's what you all have done. You said that you're equal to the top martial artist ever possible. And that made it clear that you're not in God's spirit. By your actions, you refuse to follow me, which proves that you are not one with me. And I am one with the Father. And it's very petty and evil to cheat the top martial artist ever possible out of his right to lead. That is very petty, very shallow, very stupid, very senseless, and it's adverse to God's plan. Where you're breaking one of the commandments, thou shalt not steal, and you're breaking another one. You should have no other gods but the one true God. And you worship your own shallowness, narcissistic traits, and pettiness instead of God and the Spirit of God, which is universal, pinpointed, moral precision.